I am not here to tell you whether it's the right time for you to buy a new home or not. That's only a decision you can make. What I am here to do is give you 4 honest thoughts that I hear from clients all the time when they're considering whether or not it's the right time for them to buy. The first one is interest rates. It's everywhere. Interest rates are high, they're too high, you ought to wait. They hear it in the social media, you hear it on from your coworkers, you hear it from your friends. But what is an interest rate? And how does it really affect whether or not it's the right time for you to buy? Well, an interest rate determines your payment. That has to do with your affordability. So if you find that your payment, based on today's rates, is acceptable to you for the house that you want to buy, then it may be the right time instead of worrying about an arbitrary number that really won't affect you for 30 years. You're not going to keep this mortgage for 30 years if you buy a house. You may not keep the house for 30 years. Traditionally, people will pay off their home loan because they'll refinance if rates go down, or they'll sell their home. So determining whether or not an interest rate should factor into whether or not you want to buy a house is really not as important of a question as can you afford the payment. So that's the consideration that you may want to have when it comes to the interest rates and the hype out there about interest rates. Second point is, what happens if you wait for interest rates to go down before you buy your new home? That's something that I hear very often. Just had a conversation with someone who said, if rates just go down 1%, then it's going to be the right time for me to buy. So what I did was a calculation for that particular buyer. I calculated based on the fact that he was thinking in the 300,000 range for a house. What would happen if the interest rates go down 1 point, but from what we've seen over the history of mortgages is that when interest rates go down, you're going to have a flood of people like you waiting for that interest rate reduction who are then going to flood the market. And the house prices typically will go up. So based on that 1% decrease in interest rate and even a 10% increase on the house price, his payment was going to be, wait for it, a whopping $38 difference. So he would have an entire year of waiting, maybe rates go down, and then only have $38 a month affect his payment. Is it worth the rate? Is it worth the wait to wait for those rates to drop? Is it worth the wait for you to not realize your dreams right now or your needs of getting into a new home for $38 a month? What do you spend on $38 a month right now that you can just think off of the top of your head that you would be able to give up? Maybe one DoorDash every couple of weeks, maybe a couple of coffees every other week. That may be what you're considering by waiting for interest rates to go down. So the second point in waiting for interest rates to go down is what we've seen over the last few years, as I talked about before, when there's a lot of people who are waiting for rates to go down. Once they go down, then there is a enormous number of buyers out in the market. So sellers then have the upper hand. They don't have to negotiate so much on the price because those prices go up and people are willing to pay them. We saw people paying 10%, 20%, a lot of money above even list price. And there was maybe 5, 10. I even had one client who was competing against 19 other offers on a house. So unless he went way higher than the list price, he wasn't getting that house, and he didn't. So sellers have the upper hand at that point. Another thing that we find is that, like right now, when there's less buyers in the market, then sellers are willing to negotiate on other things. So you have cost involved in buying a house. You have your down payment. You also have closing costs, the cost of your insurance. And right now, sellers are willing to pay towards buyers' closing costs. So not only are they negotiating on the sales price of the house, they're also giving extra incentive to the buyer to be able to convince that buyer to buy that home. So if you have closing costs and the seller's willing to pay $10,000 towards those closing costs, then that's less money you have to come out of pocket with. Another consideration is you have your buyer agent fee. What is happening right now, because there's not a market flooded with buyers, is sellers are willing to pay that buyer agent fee. So again, that's less money out of pocket for you because you have the upper hand right now because there's not as much competition. So waiting for that interest rate to drop because of a magic number is going to actually probably cost you more for the house and cost you more in your payment. And then you've lost all that time living in your dream home. The third point is probably the most important. I probably should have put it first. Why do you want to buy a new house right now? Has your living situation changed? Has your mindset changed where buying a new home makes sense? So if nothing else was different, if the interest rates didn't matter and the payment didn't matter, would you buy a new home right now? And that's really the why to consider, because buying a home is not just about an interest rate. It's about whether or not you're tired of sharing walls because you're living in an apartment, or it may be that you just need more space. You may have bought your home now or got your place where you're living now before you had extra people there, partners, spouses, maybe children. Maybe you need a yard to accommodate all the toys that you see in my yard. And you want to give that to your children to have a place to run and play, and you just don't have it in the place where you're living now. Or maybe you're living with mom, who still cooks a couple of meals every week and always has food in the refrigerator, but you can't have your buddies over. You can't have date night at your house where you want to cook, and maybe you just want to walk around in your underwear, and you can't do that where you're living right now. But if you bought your own home, it's yours. So the why you want to buy is a really important concept to consider, and it is very mature to consider that, because if you put in perspective why you want to buy a home, then that is going to lay the groundwork for what else do you need to consider. And so going back to the other point, if why you want to buy a home is important and you can afford the payment, then why do you want to let the media or people who aren't going to be paying your bills or aren't living in your home right now tell you what to do? It's really your decision, and balancing out the why with whether you can afford that payment is the most important concept to consider. So the fourth point is, are you waiting for that perfect situation? You may think, wow, well, if I just wait a little while, I get my credit better, then I'll get a better payment. Or if I save more money, I can put more money down and therefore make my payment a little bit better. Or maybe you're just waiting for everybody to think that you've made a wise decision by waiting because that's what they're telling you to do. One of the things that you may want to consider is talk to a lender. Talk to a lender who actually cares about you, who's going to walk through your questions, your concerns, your dreams, your whys, your credit picture, your financial picture, and then they can give you all the facts that will actually help you navigate through the decision making. It will be emotional, part of it. It will be practical. But if you have all of those facts put together, they can let you know so that you can make an educated decision. When you're thinking about credit, a lot of people come to me and they say, I just need to wait. I need to work on my credit a little bit longer because I'm looking on my Credit Karma, or I'm looking on my bank app, and I'm seeing that my credit score is here. But I know, because everything that I've read online, that if it was here, it would be a much better situation for me. Well, very often, more often than not, they're perfectly fine. And by doing what they think they need to do in credit is actually delaying them buying their dream home, and it's not making a difference. Credit scores have different ranges that are considered when it comes to what's best for the interest rate and things like that. So making adjustments on your credit score sometimes doesn't really matter, and then you've waited all that time and you're not in your home. So speaking with a lender who's actually going to let you know not what the perfect situation is for everybody else out there that's trying to give you advice, but what your perfect situation is, or what situation is going to be right for you for when it's the right time for you to buy a home. So Talk to a lender who actually cares, not the ones you're going to push the buttons online, because they're never going to sit down and really care about what's right for you. Give us a call if you'd like to talk to us. We will walk you through the process. And if you decide that it's not the right time for you right now, then that's okay too. We're going to get you on the path so that when you decide it is the right time, A, you'll be ready, B, you'll be making steps towards getting ready that make mortgage sense, not just what people think of as common sense, because sometimes mortgage sense and common sense aren't the same. And then you'll be totally prepared. We'll know what's going on for you so that we can get that approval for you quicker and easier, and the process can be happy and joyful for you.